Welcome to July 8th. It's Monday, 2024. This Day Weather Podcast brought to you by Wyoming State Parks. Why wonder about the outdoors in Wyoming? Explore the statewide interactive outdoor recreation wonder map to find your next adventure. Well, if this is a period of time where you've been looking at maybe doing some painting, getting some concrete put in, something like that where you don't have to worry about too much weather. Well, really, that's how this week's going to go. It's going to be a very quiet week of weather after what was a cool 4th of July period east of the divide, a hot, dry one west of the divide. We're now looking at high pressure and drier air really getting on both sides of the divide now. So what we're going to have is a dry, high pressure dominated pattern. Now, I say dry. There will be a few isolated thunderstorms. Not to say there won't be any. There'll be a few. They're going to want to be over the higher terrain, and they're really not going to do much. So for most of you, there's not much rain in the forecast, and some of that western heat will expand further eastward, and we're going to see temperatures, especially Wednesday through Friday, heat up, especially in areas that were very cool over the weekend. The subtropical moisture flow is going to make a comeback, though. We're going to start to see it by the weekend. By the weekend, thunderstorm chances start to go up again as the subtropical moisture flow, which is taking a week off, at least for the central and northern Rockies, will come back. Subtropical moisture will still keep thunderstorms going in portions of New Mexico, portions of West Texas, but it's going to be kind of trapped down there for this week. Some good photos of thunderstorms and showers that really tried to get going over the weekend in some areas. They just were more productive at wind than rain. Some of you got a little bit of rain, but the showers and thunderstorms in the cooler, drier air just didn't have a lot of water to work with. So you had some cloud buildup, some pretty cloud scenes, but just not much in the rain bucket. And you take a look at some beautiful photos there of some evenings that we had through the 4th of July period. The satellite imagery this morning shows Beryl coming into Houston early this morning, heavy rain bands moving into southeast Texas. As we'll show you here in a minute, we're just going to see the remains go just like this. Then you can see the west, just not much going on. This area right here is separate from the hurricane. This is the little wave that came in from the northwest over the weekend. So some showers and thunderstorms, and as we'll show you in a minute, very cool weather for this time of year will be found in the Panhandle region today. But elsewhere across the west, not much going on. The high pressure that's been over California is still there. East of the divide, at least for the start of the week, northwest winds aloft will continue to keep temperatures modest, mild, along and east of the divide into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, while the heat is along the coasts. As we take a look at temperature anomalies today, look at this. By late this afternoon, temperatures in the nation's midsection well below average, while very hot weather along the west coast, very warm weather in the northeast, and cooler weather underneath the hurricane activity there. When you look at the forecasted high temperature today for, let's just pick Lubbock. Look at this. A high of only 79 in Lubbock on July 8th. That is very cool for that part of the country this time of year, with some needed rainfall coming along with it, so good for those areas. As we step through the temperature anomalies, as we go into the middle of the week, this is Wednesday, you can see all the red expanding from western Canada, getting further east into the Rockies. This is by Thursday. This is by Friday. So the heat will finally get here mid to late in the week as temperatures will get, well, hot. They'll get July hot. That will eventually help wick up some better moisture coming up from the southwest by the weekend, as we'll show you here in a minute. Now, this is the predicted rainfall between now and Friday. So you can see not much going on. And a lot of this activity right here is over the next couple of days, staying down there, and then the moisture staying further east, the whole western side of the U.S., very little weather going on. So this is a great opportunity this week to get those outdoor chores taken care of. On a bigger, larger scale image here, you can see that the moisture from the Hurricane Beryl is going to go right up, curve across Arkansas, Missouri, into parts of the Corn Belt, and the remains going all the way through up into New England. So there's going to be severe weather, very heavy rains along the path of the remains here, but the rest of the country, further west, all will be quiet. By the end of the week and the weekend, the high pressure ridge is no longer in California, but it's over the central Rockies. Now that will bring the heat as we showed you. However, this is where we start to pay very close attention to what the winds aloft are doing. If you look real closely, you can see that the winds aloft, 18,000 feet here, are now coming from the east to the west, from the Gulf, and then wanting to circulate around the high. So what that does is the door opens. We talk about the door opening and closing. The door right now is closed to subtropical moisture. It opens by the end of the week and especially by the weekend. So that's going to make it hot, but that's also going to help bring that moisture back in. And as we'll see here in a moment, when we take a look at the precipitable water loop over the next 10 days, notice at least initially all the brown in the west, dry air, but then at the end of the period, look at the moisture increasing quite a bit by the time we get into the weekend. By the time we get into the weekend, we'll start to see shower and thunderstorm coverage increase a bit. It'll be early to mid next week when we see that deeper moisture come on in. And if you look really closely, you're going to see the subtropical moisture coming out of the Gulf, coming on up slowly at first, then really wanting to come around and loop around. So this type of pause that we're in during this week happens during the course of the summer where subtropical moisture gets cut off, but it is going to come back again. We just have to wait here a good 5 or 6 days before we see that. Have yourself a good Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.